If you've been into a bookshop in the last decade and you have an interest in the country, then you're probably very familiar with our guest today, Rachael Treasure. Rachael, how are you?
Very well, Tim. Nice to see you here.
So Rachael, this is one of your books, Milking Time. It's received worldwide critical acclaim, and you've been translated into different languages and you're available around the world. This is a very special book to you, isn't it?
Certainly is. It's set in Tasmania and it speaks to something that I'm really passionate about, which is pure food, providing the world with pure, unadulterated food.
How many books have you written so far?
Milking Time is my 8th novel, and I've just completed a 9th manuscript, and then I have other non-fiction works, and fortunately Milking Time was longlisted for the Tasmanian Premier's Prize, and being a Tassie bush girl, that was very highfalutin for a country girl.
This great regenerative story has been brought to you by Davo's Fencing Clip. Next time you do fencing, get yourself some Davos. A great Australian invention. They're stronger than staples, last longer, and they're easier to apply. Sell yourself short. You've been a journalist in the past. Yep. You're agriculture trained. You've had a varied and checkered life experience, from being a Jackaroo in the outback to farming in Tasmania and running your current herd of Dexters that you have. You've got quite a strong background in the bush. What do you love about the storytelling of writing a novel that keeps you coming back to that process more and more?
Novels give you such a free-roaming imagination of what is possible. So the mind is very much limited by itself, whereas when you're tapping into a higher creative realm, you're literally downloading information from the ethers. It sounds really creative woo-woo, but it gives you a scope of what is possible in the world, and that's what I really love. You can grasp hold of positivity and you can channel it out in a really good yarn.
Now, I've spent the day with you and I have to say that your positivity has just come across in spades, and you're seeing lots of positive futures for our food supply and for communities and for small farms in Australia. We just need to get a few things right, don't we?
Yes, and that is why the people are disconnected from our food system. So one of the main reasons I became an author, a novelist, was I could reach those people who live in the middle of Sydney and help them understand what it means to support food systems that aren't poisoning us and the world. And that sounds like a big scope to cover, but in a story, and you know, being really grassroots as we are, keep you real and grounded. I'm also bringing the elements of my life that I love to that urban person. So when they sit down to eat a meal, they're looking at that meal on their plate vastly differently.
And they're connecting it with a human story, because at the end of the day, what we do on farm and what we do for our food supply is a very human story. Now, take us through the story of Milking Time. What's so special about this novel in particular?
Okay, so number one, it's a call to arms, not aggressive arms. It's a reclamation of our power as consumers. So it's a story of Connie Mulligan, and she's a Tasmanian dairy farmer's daughter. She's seen the land degrading. She's seen how the grandparents ran the farm, and through her lifetime, she's just watching it slip away. She's also studying agricultural science at a university, and she's seeing the science is skewed by corporate interests. So it's dressed up like a Mother's Day chocolate box, but it's really actually quite political on one sense, but also positive. And the other element, Connie's district is suffering from, it's a cancer cluster. And because of Connie's exposure to the crooked science that is underpinning her agricultural learnings at her university, she comes home and puts two and two together and is virtually ostracised from her community for speaking up. So for me, this book is it's an awakening for people to say we really need to claim ownership of our future, and women need to be given more, not given more power, but empower themselves to just say, look, this is enough. Our children are not well. Our planet is suffering. So food systems need to be looked at.
And I think men play a role in that as well. For a good, solid community, we need to have both sexes leading this together, don't we?
We absolutely do, Tim. And this is what is important about Milking Time. So when I craft a character, they represent something in a culture. So Connie's dad is, he represents that culture where we kind of got our head in the sands. We're doing the same thing. We're bending to pressures. We're getting advice from off farm, and we are turning away from our inner wisdom. A lot of farmers, male or female, are doing that. Then we have Connie's uncle, Uncle Larry, and he has this real element of wisdom to him. So he represents the form of farming that I grew up with. And I'm not saying it's hippie farming or it's not profitable. The form of farming I had took into account that ancient wisdom, that these whole systems need to go on, not just for an election term, not just for a supermarket supply chain. They need to go on for the future. And that's why it is milking time. It's about the dairy industry, but it's also about how we've made these mistakes before in civilizations and we're making them again. So I make it sound really serious, but there's elements of fun in it. And it's also underpinned by, we reference my experience. I was a rural journalist and I was a dairy reporter. Every dairy event I went to, they had the banners up for the fertiliser or whatever it was that they were trying to sell. And so the science and the data had been created to support that. And that was what I was seeing as a reporter. And when I went to report on methodology that wouldn't sell you much, it kind of got buried to a smaller article.
So you've seen that bias firsthand from your reporting experience,
yeah.
And you're doing something about it in a very positive way, and that's something that I resonate with.
Yes.
You're not all doom and gloom. There's a lot of positivity in this book and there's a hope for the future, isn't there?
Yes, I put Connie through the ringer in the first start of the book because I wanted people to see just how depressed, anxious, desperate, ostracised you can be, and then how you can actually move through that and not just embolden yourself for a better way forward, but inspire your whole community. And that's what Connie manages to do. It's really Tassie. I'm a God knows how many generations Tasmanian. We have convicts on one side and then some of us didn't even make it on the page, the history book pages, some of my forebears. But I have a real connection to this landscape and I'm watching it over my lifetime getting channeled into supermarket. I'm not just supermarket, not just targeting that, but
simplified food chains. Simplified
food chains that are economics only, basically.
Yes, yeah.
At the end of the day, they're not thinking about ecosystems. So I didn't want to be this is bad. This is our perceived necessity to feed the 8 billion people. Whereas my version in Connie's world is that if we look after each of our little local villages, including our own little home teepee, and we can produce more food than ever. Yes.
You're a change maker, aren't you? So you're trying to bring people along.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't do that by making others wrong. And that's the beauty of novel writing, because you can present really complex ideas in a funny and entertaining way. For example,
and you can get inside the head of another person. You can get inside the head of your character.
Yes. So I have a couple of lads from, we call it the mainland, moved to Tassie, and they set up the Happy Chappy Cafe, and they're a couple of lovely vegan mainlanders. And Connie starts to educate them about what it takes to grow plants and how much death has to happen as opposed to a holistic system that integrates everything from
animals and plants.
Animals, plants and soil microbes.
Yeah.
Because it's the microbial stuff. So I've got loads of science that I researched It took me 6 years to write this, and I was going through breast cancer treatment at the time.
So it's a novel that has a lot of meaning for you?
Absolutely, because I have a daughter born with lifelong disability. I was exposed to agrochemicals, poppy cropping, you name it. As a child, I was exposed to God knows what in the 70s.
But when you were pregnant with your daughter, you were exposed to chemicals?
I was exposed to chemicals in my first trimester.
And you have a belief that that has
I have an inner wisdom that I know this is what, because I just remember my physical reaction to the house and the clothing smelling of that agrochemical. I literally was almost, it took hold of my body while I was pregnant, and my instinct was just to get out. But I just remember in that moment with the pregnancy, and then now after having chemotherapy, which stripped the inside lining of my nostrils, if I even drive past a vineyard when they're spraying, my whole body has a reaction now because it's the toxicity levels. So I'm countering that. We talked about the positivity, but also using food as medicine. So here I am growing my own beautiful beef, lamb, buying the most pure veggies and fruits I can find in my home state, and just knowing that the body has its own wisdom, and farmers we have our own wisdom. We've just got to tune back into it.
Well, Rachel, it's a hopeful novel for a hopeful future.
Yep.
And it's great to see someone digging deep and bringing out so many personal things via the wonderful medium that is your characters. And no wonder that they're so rich and so engaging for so many people. Mother's Day is coming up.
Oh,
If you love your mum, this is the book to get her. And if you just want a good read, maybe buy two. Rachel, thank you very much for being on the Farm Learning Channel. It's not my usual sort of interview, but it's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, it's a joy. Thank you, Tim, so much.
Cheers. And if you'd like more interviews like this, let me know in the comments below. Send this to someone who needs to buy their mum a present and they don't know what to get.
And it's on audio for fellas as well, because I'm a bit of a tomboy, so it's not all girly, let me tell you.
I might have to read it.
Yeah, you're going to have to.